I should probably get another lens. Oh man, these prices are really high. Don't think I can afford any of these. What? What? So as you saw at the start of the video, I have been using this lens for about 7 months now, and I actually love it. And I've taken my best shots with this lens. It basically lives on my camera. I take this lens wherever I go. It's so pocketable as well, so I don't have to take a bag with me. And that just makes it so much more portable than my other lenses. I just want to emphasize that this is not a technical review. It's just a review based on how I shoot with it from day to day. Just a basis of the things that I shoot, which are mainly street and travel photography. This is not going to go into things about vignetting or how sharp it is. This is just mainly how I find it as a day-to-day user. I'll go into the pros and cons of this lens and how much I bought it for and how much you can buy it for as well. So we'll just start off with some brand history. TTartisan was founded in 2019 and it is a Chinese brand. They've managed to get their name out because they've made lenses for many different mounts, and all their lenses have been quite budget friendly, and that's how they managed to get their way onto the Western market, is because they've made so many mounts for so many lenses and the apertures are really low for the price that you're paying. It is a really good recommendation from the majority of people who are looking for budget lenses, and for that reason they sell really well. Although the prices are a bit more expensive here, if you know where to look, you can find really good prices for these lenses. They do a selection of manual and autofocus lenses as well, so you're not limited to just manual lenses. Although that being said, not all their lenses might work with all the cameras because TTartisan aren't actually licensed to use autofocus for various different mounts, so they end up having to reverse engineer how the lenses and the cameras communicate and then create their own lenses using that method. So I just want to start off with build quality. The lens is completely metal, and you'd be surprised for the price of this lens that it is a completely metal build, but because it is completely metal, it feels much more robust than what you think you'd be paying for this lens. It does have a little bit of extra weight, so it certainly feels that it's not going to break anytime soon. Although this lens isn't weather sealed by any means, yeah, I don't think you're expecting to get anything weather sealed at this price point, and especially the fact that it is a manual focus lens, it definitely isn't going to be weather sealed. The focus ring is quite smooth to push. You're able to push it with just one finger, and that makes locking focus quite easy, but it does mean that it can get knocked kind of easily as well. It has happened to me quite a few times, but the majority of the time it's not really that big of an issue. The aperture ring is also quite smooth, and it is clicked as well, but only for some values. It doesn't have every value. It's missing f11, which is really weird, and the aperture values aren't spread equally, so you have to keep that in mind. Although that doesn't actually make a difference for my day-to-day shooting, but if that is something you're already nitpicky about, I guess you'll have to skip this lens. Its size as well is really small. It doesn't protrude much higher than the grip I have on my Fujifilm X-Pro 1, which is really nice. And it also makes this camera somewhat pocketable. I can fit it into my coat pocket really easily, so I don't have to think about carrying a bag. And if I do carry a bag, it just kind of fits in there quite nicely. So one reason I really want to recommend this lens to people, especially beginners, is the fact that it is a 50mm equivalent on full frame. And if you know anything about that, it basically means that it mimics the human eye in terms of field of view. And that makes composing images really easy. I also want to talk about the fact that its aperture is very bright at f1.4, which makes low light really good and blurry backgrounds really achievable. Although personally I never really use f1.4, not because it's too soft or anything, just because my style of photography requires more to be in focus, so I end up using any values between f4 and f11. Some occasions, especially if I'm doing low light stuff, I might use f1.4, but I try to avoid it when I can. There are some reviews that say if you stop down to f2 it does get considerably sharper than f1.4, but in my photography I don't really notice too much. Now, of course, that this is a budget lens, there are going to be some defects or cons to this lens. One really big glaring thing is flaring. Flaring is quite bad on this lens, and you really notice it as it ruins your images, especially if you're shooting directly into sunlight or a bright light source. Another thing I mentioned earlier was the fact that the aperture values aren't spaced equally. That in itself isn't that big of a deal for me, but what is a big of a deal is the fact that it doesn't have an f11, and I have to sort of balance it in between the two values, between 8 and 16, and it can get easily knocked because that value isn't clicked. So sometimes my pictures might be one stop overexposed or one stop underexposed, and then I'm stuck there figuring what happened, and that's just really annoying. Another thing is focus can be somewhat knocked quite easily. Not in the sense that you can just tap it and it'll move. It'll more like in some occasions where I have it around my neck and it might get knocked by my coat, and the focus might be shift ever so slightly to the point where it might ruin my image, or it might have a chance of ruining an image that I might be ready to take with a pre-aligned focus. Another thing I don't really like about this lens is the lens cap is a screw system rather than just like a clip-in, which the majority of lenses have. And the reason I don't like this is because it slows me down, and by the time that I take off the lens cap and I take a photo, the moment's gone. So I end up leaving the cap off for the majority of the time. However, I do use a dark mist filter for the majority of my shots, so I'm not too worried about the lens getting scratched on the surface, but it is a bit of an inconvenience that it is a screw-on lens cap compared to the traditional clip-in ones. Although this can be seen as a pro or a con, depending on how you feel about it. If you're not really rushing to take a shot and you're more prioritizing the safety of your lens, then having a screw-on lens cap does give you that sense of security that it's not going to get scratched. But in my case, I would much prefer for it to be a clip-in. just some final points about this lens as well is that I bought this lens for about £50, and I bought this from AliExpress. AliExpress is actually a goldmine for Chinese lenses because you're basically importing them for a lower price than what Western retailers sell them for. Although the price at the moment, if you were to buy them in the UK first hand, you are looking at anything over £60. But if you want to buy them used, it can go lower than 50, it can even be £40 or lower. But it is quite hard to find a used one as they are quite new. I wouldn't be too keen on getting a used one if the new ones are low enough anyway. So if you don't mind waiting 3 weeks for your lens to arrive, I would definitely recommend buying them from AliExpress. I've bought from AliExpress in the past, and if you're able to read the description and actually know what you're buying, and you see the store and it's got really good reviews, then why not? So my final question is this lens for you? If you don't have a prime and you're on a budget, I would really recommend this lens. The bright f1.4 aperture and the 50mm full frame equivalent focal length is really good for beginners, and it gets you an eye for photography. And if you're looking to buy a prime and you're on a budget, this is like the best option. Although that being said, there are plenty of other primes on a budget as well. There are lots of other brands that you can buy them from as well, but just this specific one I've owned for a while and I really like the photos that come out of this. So just as a final send-off, I know that my last video was 6 months ago. I'm in my final year of uni now, so I don't have a lot of time to make YouTube videos at the moment, but hopefully once I'm finished, I'm able to maybe get back onto it. I do have another lens sort of I want to review or make a review of. I also did get a lot of comments on my last video about how the music is too loud, and I've taken that into consideration this time, and I'm really sorry that the music being too loud has ruined the video for some people, and that is a shame, and I didn't really know at the time. I'm still learning. So if you want to leave any comments about my video, if I've missed anything or you think things that could be improved, that could really help, I'm open to feedback all the time. Yeah, thank you for watching so much. Please subscribe, hit the like button, please comment something as well. Engagement's really nice. But I hope you have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed this review and hope it was useful.